Have you ever had a moment where reality itself felt unstable? Where a single thought sent you spiraling into an existential crisis? Well, buckle up, because today we're diving into the Existential Crisis Iceberg, and trust me, the deeper we go, the more unsettling it gets. Level 1. Everyone has their own complex life. At first glance, this concept seems obvious, but there's actually a term for this realization: Sonder. It describes the profound moment when you realize that every single person you pass by, every stranger, every face in a crowd, has a life just as vivid and intricate as your own. Yet we rarely think about this. In our own minds, we're the main character of the story, and everyone else, just side characters in our journey. But the truth is, to them, we're just background extras in their narrative. When you sit with this thought for a while, it's mind-blowing. The world is overflowing with conscious experiences we will never fully comprehend. Level 2. Worry about the future. This one hits home. As kids, life is simple. Your biggest concerns are what's for lunch and who you'll play with after school. Then adulthood hits and suddenly you're thinking about bills, taxes, careers, responsibilities, things that actually shape your future. For some, this transition is seamless. For others, it can spiral into anxiety, uncertainty, and even existential dread. When you start realizing how much is at stake, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. But let's move on, because things only get deeper from here. Level 3 simulation theory. Now, here's where things get weird. You've probably heard of this one, the idea that we could all be living in a simulation. This theory isn't new. In fact, it's a modern twist on René Descartes' evil demon hypothesis. Descartes imagined a scenario where an all-powerful entity was constantly tricking us into believing the world around us is real, when in reality, it's just an illusion. Fast forward to today, and we've swapped the demon for advanced computers. What if everything you see, hear, and feel is nothing more than a highly sophisticated simulation? What if your thoughts, emotions, and memories are just programmed experiences? At this point, reality itself starts feeling a little unstable. And that's just the beginning. The Existential Crisis Iceberg goes even deeper, into concepts that challenge everything we think we know. Should we keep going? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, because trust me, there's a lot more to uncover. Radical skepticism. Can we trust reality? At its core, this is what's known as radical skepticism, the idea that if something can be questioned, then it should be questioned. And the deeper you go, the more unsettling it becomes. Because when you really start analyzing it, you realize that we have no absolute justification for even our most fundamental beliefs, including the very existence of the external world. Just thinking about this is enough to send some people into an existential spiral. The simulation argument. Are we in a simulated reality? Enter Nick Bostrom, the philosopher who didn't just propose the idea that we could be living in a simulation, but went further and argued that we almost certainly are. His reasoning: technological progress. If you follow the trajectory of AI, virtual reality, and computational power, it's only a matter of time before we develop the ability to simulate entire human experiences down to the finest detail. But here's where it gets interesting. If we create a simulation that is indistinguishable from reality, then the beings inside that simulation will eventually develop the technology to create their own simulations, and those simulations will create their own, and so on. A chain of simulated worlds, all stacked within one another, each believing they are the real world. Now ask yourself, what are the chances that we just so happen to exist in the first and only real world, rather than one of the trillions of simulated realities? Statistically speaking, it's far more likely that we're in a simulation right now. Now, personally, I'm not entirely convinced, mainly because I'm skeptical that human consciousness can ever be truly replicated. That's a massive topic, one for another video. But if you're interested, I actually had Nick Bostrom on my podcast, where we explored AI consciousness, philosophy, and reality itself. Why does anything exist at all? And now we reach one of the oldest and most profound questions in philosophy. Why does anything exist? At first, it sounds almost childlike, the kind of question you'd expect from a curious mind seeing the world for the first time. But the more you think about it, the more unsettling it becomes. Because logically, there's no reason why there should be something rather than nothing. The universe didn't have to exist. There could have simply been nothing. No stars, no planets, no life. Just an infinite void of absolute nothingness. And yet, there is something. There are trees, oceans, planets, thoughts, emotions, colors, even abstract concepts like morality and mathematics. So why? This question alone can send you into an existential crisis in two ways. One possibility is that there is no answer, that existence is just random and we'll never know why. That thought alone is deeply unsettling. The other possibility, there is an answer. Maybe existence has a purpose, a reason for being. Maybe it was created by something greater, designed with intention. But that leads to another mind-bending realization. If there is an external purpose to existence, then our lives may not be entirely our own. Which side do you lean toward? Random chaos or intentional design? Acknowledging death, a reality we can't escape. This one's pretty straightforward. We all know we're going to die. That's just a fact of life. But there's a difference between knowing it and truly realizing it. Most people accept their mortality in an abstract way. Yeah, I'll die someday. But not today. Some even believe they might somehow outrun death, whether through technology, medicine, or sheer denial. But here's the real question. When was the last time you actually sat down and thought about your own mortality? Not just acknowledged it in passing, but truly let it sink in. Let yourself fully comprehend what it means that one day, you will be gone. I did this once as a teenager, and honestly, it scared the life out of me. I haven't done it since. These days, I've become more open to philosophical and spiritual possibilities. Maybe consciousness is more than just neurons firing. Maybe there's something beyond this life. But no matter what you believe, one thing remains true. Time is limited. And for some, that's terrifying. But others argue that this finite nature of life is exactly what makes it meaningful. Imagine if you had infinite time. If life stretched on forever, would anything truly matter? If you had unlimited money, would a single dollar feel valuable? But with limited time, every moment counts. So yes, facing our mortality can trigger an existential crisis, but it can also lead to something deeper. A realization that life's brevity is what gives it meaning in the first place. Let me know in the comments. And if you found this video thought-provoking, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, because trust me, there's so much more to explore.